Buzzer in.
If she doesn't come,
Yeah,
I'm tempted to send somebody out there to check on her.
okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:30 and we'll start with pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
All right. Treasurer Parker is absent. Director Brown at this moment is absent. Director Wager.
Present.
Secretary Duval
Present.
and President Gaber.
Here. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
No, I would like you to please make a motion to move the budget hearing after new business. This will allow us, allow for the change in the meeting time that wasn't, included in the public notice. Because that went out prior to your meeting.
There she is.
There she is.
It's okay.
It's all right. Get out of my own driveway,
Oh.
the traffic.
That's okay.
Oh, my
You're okay, Laurel.
Yeah, we were starting to worry.
Well,
It's very.
Brett's on, an ambulance in my driveway this afternoon and thought something was wrong. Is mine?
Side.
Yeah, either one of you guys.
She's got
can sign
better
those.
instinct.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Brett.
You're on the hook too, you know.
I'm looking out for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sorry.
So let the record reflect that Brown is now present.
Yes,
Um,
7:32.
Yes.
7:32.
I lost 2 hours, Laurel.
So we'll move public hearing to after new business before correspondence.
Correct.
Okay, any other changes in the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approval of minutes from the November 12th, 2024 meeting. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes from the November 12th, 2024 meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on table aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. We ask that you limit your comment to 3 minutes. And anybody like to comment? Anybody on Zoom? You see anybody, Sasha?
No.
Nobody's raising their hand.
Yeah.
There's. Clinton's identified.
Yep.
Okay, nobody like public comments. Okay, we will move on to our financial report year to date. Yeah,
I did just text Paul. and
I
remind him
think
to
this
start.
might be him.
Okay.
I'm on hold. Do you need to accept?
did you want to cover the financial report? Kim, year to date?
I didn't make any notes for anything, extenuating.
Any questions in the financial report?
I don't have anything extenuating.
We're gonna get the variance column figured out for
Yes.
January, right?
Yeah, Jenny, we're working with, I'm working with Jill and Jim to try to figure out how to get that variance column in there with these reports. They will look different moving into the new year. We just have to figure out how to get that report formatted and then saved in there. So that's how it'll shoot out every single time.
Because right now we've got QuickBooks and Excel
Excel.
spreadsheet, and we need to report them, or I think we're gonna use QuickBooks for the finally,
Yeah.
eventually, and we should be able to get a variance column at least. We gotta figure out how to merge the two systems. We're working on it.
Okay.
Working.
It'll be easier to figure out if we are where we should be each month.
Yeah.
Yeah, percentage of budget.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Excellent. Any other questions? Staff reports, you said you thought Paul was,
Paul, are you there?
Everyone. Hey, good evening. I'm here.
Oh, not that Paul. Sorry,
Sorry, Paul.
wrong Paul. Paul.
I had a feeling. Disregard.
Yeah. Paul Grant, are you there?
That is him.
I think you can't hear me.
you think he's on?
It is him.
Yeah,
It's just, this is the one that's just a number.
it's just a number.
He says. He's on the phone.
Yeah. Cause I assume that's his,
It is his.
yes.
number. I've asked him to unmute.
Yeah, that's him. That's his number.
Paul, can you unmute?
Okay. Can I unmute it?
Because he's answering us. Like you're muted. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, there we go.
There.
Okay.
Looks like you're unmuted.
Maybe.
Can you hear us now, Paul?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go.
Oh, thank you.
All right, you're
So
up.
the lift station pump should be ready by the end of this week, and then we can install it next week. Hello?
Yep. Yeah, we heard that.
Okay.
And then what about the digital meters?
So the meters are, the guy finally, I called him today with Ferguson, and he did not see my email, so he saw it today, so he's gonna place our order, tomorrow, and then we'll get those shipped out. I don't know what the lead time is yet. I'm waiting to hear back from him.
And as we discussed the other day, that'll be almost all the meters for the rest of the town. There was only a few he had left down. For the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a few extra we'd have to order, and those are for the school, the Justice Center, I think the fire station, and I believe that should be all of them that we would still need to order. And those are longer meters that we'll have to order special so they fit in.
So those are bigger.
And then once you get the pump put back in the sewer plant, then will you work on getting the other two pumps up, or what is that chain of events?
Yeah, so as soon as we put this one in and get it going, then we'll pull the next one and send that one in. But we'll be able to start sending flow to the wastewater treatment plant next week once this one is installed.
And then do you wanna cover with the board the timeline on the remediation of the pond or what we're working on there?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the size pump, but I'm pretty sure it'll probably take 2 or 3 months to pump down the lagoon because the plant is actually rated for 270,000 gallons, and we're only doing about 45,000 gallons a day. So I'm gonna do the math and pump in so that we're pumping a full 80% of the plant's capacity to empty that lagoon.
And then one thing that we discussed, Kim and I and Paul discussed the other day,
Once the lagoon is pumped down, we'll have to let it dry. And then we're gonna, we can put a chemical called lime or high-strength chlorine on it to disinfect the area. And then, we had talked about hopefully maybe putting in a liner in the future, which would allow us to store stuff in there without having to report it to the state, and we just pump it out after we're done making whatever repairs we have at the sewer plant.
This is the second time we've had to do this. You'll see in your budget when we get there that I did increase, some of the end of year in anticipation that if this pump down he's proposing over 2 to 3 months doesn't work, or it needs to go faster, I'm just trying to be cautious. Then last time we had McDonald Farms come out and do that, it was $13,000 to pump that out and haul it away, because it has to be a specialty company that does this. Because they have to dispose of it in a very certain way. So twice now, we would have to spend that if we have to do that, and it would cost less to just line the dang thing instead of having to do it this way. So Paul's looking into seeing how much that would cost to do that, because every time we do it this way and we have to pump raw sewage over to that lagoon, it has to be reported to the state as a spill, and it goes in our record like that. So. Right now, there's currently
Correct.
40,000 gallons sitting there.
Pardon?
There's 44,000 gallons of raw sewage sitting there right now.
And why does putting a liner in it stop you from having to pump it?
It doesn't stop us from having to pump it. It stops us from having to report it as a spill. Should we have a situation again that we have to pump to that lagoon? Because right now it's not lined, and because it's not lined, we have to do remediation to
Oh.
remove that raw sewage from the ground that is
And then
underneath it.
remediate it and then start
Yes.
over again.
Yes, it's a whole long drawn out
Process.
process with money and time and everything, and having it lined. All you gotta do is pump it right back in, so it's
Right.
so much easier.
I think it makes good sense.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So much
Just
more
as a-
sense.
Just as,
There's a lining company over on Singing Hills.
Yeah.
Do they do those kind of
I don't know
liners?
if they do it, or whether they just sell the liner. I don't know whether they actually install it, but he had a couple of
CNC
sources and,
and another company,
yeah,
he knows of it, that do that kind of work.
Provide those.
yeah.
Yes,
No, I
we can
think-
get a couple of bids to let you know what that will cost.
Yes.
Good.
All right, any other questions for Paul?
Do you have anything on your systems report you need to speak to?
For the water system, I think everything on the water side is good. It's just the wastewater that we're working on.
Or is there anything in your November report that you want to bring to their attention?
Oh. I'd have to look at it. I don't remember anything off the top of my head other than just dealing with the wastewater.
Okay. Just checking.
Anybody get any other questions for Paul?
No.
All right, we will move on to Kim Boyd.
The only thing I have for you guys as far as the report this month is, we finally worked through our issues with Apple Business Manager. We had to create you guys a domain for the water authority that was never created before, and we got that registered with, Apple Business Manager, verified, and your iPads were finally ordered last night. So they were shipped this morning. They should be here in the next week or so. Your 2 keyboards are already here. Once I get those in, we will get IT on them and get all of both entities set up with email addresses assigned to people, and then we'll set up a training time that will work for everybody, for those that need a little training on it, so.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sasha, systems total report.
Okay, so system total report, as a whole, one good thing, we were down to 9% loss, which is really good. Although if you kind of watch the graph, as during the winter months, it'll be a lot closer because people aren't watering as much and, We don't have as much crazy. And as you know, we have shut off, well, the board decided, so the bulk water is shut off. So that is probably also accounts for some of the tightening of that, because there isn't any waste. As far as that goes. Last month, all the shut off notices, I think I sent 6 out last month and they all paid. I sent 7 warning letters out this month, and 3 shut off notices. So far, 2 of the 3 have paid up. So, there's 1 outstanding that has till next week. So nothing too crazy this month. So,
Can you kick back on the bulk water being shut off?
little bit. Not too bad. The one group asked, they're like, well, we'll just fill up at the fairgrounds. And I was like, no, you can't, can't fill up the fairgrounds. And then, I did, when companies come in to do bulk water, I always make them leave a $3,000 deposit check, and I just hang on to it. I just clip it to their file in case, they run over a hydrant or something, which we've had happen. So I have had 2 companies ask for their check back. So one I mailed back and the other came in today to pick it up in person. So, little grumblies, but nothing crazy. So, mostly they're just like, why is that? And I'm like, well, we've got some legal issues we have to work through, and so that's where we're at. And they're like, oh, okay. So, so not too bad. So, but we did send a letter out to everybody. So, everybody got notice, and
That should be included in your packet.
it is, it's the very last thing in your packet because it was an add-on. So the letter's at the very end of your packet. So no, not, nobody's called and like screamed at us. So minor grumbling, but.
I don't think it's a big well, for some companies, it might be a problem right now because of what they do every day, but
Right.
as far as like Road and Bridge, it's not gonna become a problem
No.
until spring,
Right,
so.
yeah,
But
because a lot of things have kind of settled down or shut
I
down.
try to assure them we're working diligently to work through policies and procedures and review of the.
Yeah.
The program.
Yeah.
Hopefully will be done by then.
So,
Excellent. Any questions? Yep. Moving on, Diamond Maps update.
yeah, okay, so, I included the email, that I got, and I had sent you this copy of this email, and from Scott from Rural Water. So basically, option 2, I think, is the better option, because it's only $8 a month, and it's unlimited users instead of $20 a month for a single user. So unlimited users could be, the whole board could have access. Basically, I think you can do it on your phone or your tablet that you'll have. And then Colorado Rural Water said they would help us map it for free.
Oh,
That's excellent.
Mhm.
They're such a great.
Yeah, Scott at Rural Water said they will help us map it for free. So,
I think that's a no-brainer.
yeah, so, yeah, we just, they asked if we could get whatever maps. So that would be kind of on Paul, if we can get the maps brought in, and then they will help us go around and they will help us map it for free. So, we like free's good. Scott's awesome. So, anyway, I guess my recommendation would be that I think this is a good option. Like I said, with the unlimited users, you all could have access then. So you could all see it, and
Now, are we able to give access to somebody else that maybe we hire to help do something or
yes, we could give them a,
password or
account.
something or whatever? Okay.
Mhm.
Under
and then
that-
I
under
can,
that unlimited.
right, yeah, and I'm guessing either Kim or I would be the administrator of the account. So we can give access to who can edit it, who can just view it. So if you just want people to be able to see it and not touch it,
Mhm.
you can give them access, kind of like Google, they can edit it, or they can just view it, or they can, make notes. So, anyway, that is my recommendation, but it's up to the board to decide what you would like to do.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, somebody like to make a motion?
And a no-brainer.
I make a motion that we go to the option 2, the unlimited user amount, $28 a month.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Diamond Maps with option 2, unlimited users, $28 a month. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your work with that, Sasha.
Yeah, always appreciate your effort and your ingenuity of thinking of these things. Good.
Try to make it easier for everybody.
You certainly do.
Excellent. We'll move into new business engagement with Bush Allen Holland PC for special counsel legal representation.
Oh, I'm trying to get the attorneys on for the discussion before we get there.
This is just for water issues, right?
This is for, this is special counsel who will be reviewing our bulk water policies. We had a discussion with our general counsel, Paul's up there right now. They gave, at the last meeting, they sent an email after that meeting with 3 firms that they have worked with in the past, with water issues. And, this is, one of those law firms. We did, myself, Colin and Paul had a meeting with them, brought them up to speed as to what, the issues are, what we're looking to, get out of our engagement with them. And, this is, their engagement letter for approval by you guys. They are up to speed as what the issues are, what they're gonna be reviewing, so it's just waiting for the approval to get started.
And for what it's worth, Colin and I have reviewed this. There's nothing within this agreement that gives either of us heartburn. And the rates are actually quite good, especially for water attorneys. They're actually on the low end. Yeah, so I was actually a bit surprised. But they come well recommended. They have a good reputation. Their rates are more than competitive.
We put a maximum. For last meeting was
$9,000.
$9,000 anyways.
Right.
Mhm.
Can I ask a stupid question? Did you sign this already?
Well, you guys gave me the authorization to engage with a law firm, not to go exceed
Okay,
our
all right.
budget of
$9,000,
$9,000.
yeah.
This, I just would rather have the entire board. I engage with them with, what the issues are and budget wise, but I'd rather have you, approve his engagement letter and all the terms of that.
Okay.
Or at least review it. I mean, we've had extensive conversations already, so,
I figured.
yeah.
So do I have a motion to approve the engagement with Bush Allen Holland?
I move that we accept the engagement letter with Bush Allen Holman. For water, review our bulk water policy. Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the engagement with Bush Allen Holland PC. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, engagement with Adams Group LLC CPA for audit services.
Okay, so as you all know, our previous auditor, Ronnie Farmer, is retiring after 20 so years of being our auditor. He sent me 3 options for a governmental auditor, an auditor that does governmental entities, and both of our entities fall into that category. 2 of them are not taking new customers at this time, as well as a third that Jill had sent me information on over a week ago. They're also not taking new customers. Adams Group is. I had a very long, nice conversation with them. I did not leave that conversation feeling as bewildered as I often do on audit times. As you'll see, budget-wise, and this is the same for the town, Ronnie has charged us the same amount for literally all those years. We're going with a group now, it's a group of CPAs. There's a lot of checks and balances before that final audit goes out. It's not just done by one person. There's a lot of hands that are in that, making sure it's completely accurate and, complete. A lot of their work will be done, from their office in Greenwood. I will be communicating back and forth with them via phone and email and whatever communications are needed to get them the information they need, to do the bulk of the audit. They will come down here and spend one day with me, before it's completely finalized. They are the auditors at this time for Elizabeth, so they've done Elizabeth's audits for many years. And are, so they're familiar with the area, they're familiar with KWWA. They have looked at our budgets and our audits at DOLA's website. They had no red flags for them. They were able to understand, explain to me some of the things that have always bewildered me in the years past with going through the audit process. So I feel very comfortable with them. I feel confident with them. It is an increased cost. The cost of things have gone up tremendously. It is half the cost of what he's charging Elizabeth. Understandably, it's a much larger municipality, but we are gonna start paying more cost for those things that we've had one person doing for many, many years.
What were we charging for by Ronnie?
$8,500. So it's essentially double.
Yeah.
Me and Colin did go
For
through this
sure.
agreement as well. There was, it's pretty form, nothing that stands out to us. The rates are a bit high from what we typically see, but it is so difficult to get an auditor nowadays that this doesn't really surprise either of us. And yeah, I mean, we're fine with the agreement.
It's really hard to find one that does governmental entities.
Right.
It really
That's,
is.
it was, yeah, when I came in at 21 and Ronnie was gonna retire then, we couldn't find one at all. And that's when Ronnie decided to stay on longer. And this time he was actually very instrumental in helping us locate a firm that does the type of audits we're needing somebody for.
And we take new people.
Yeah, and we'll take new people.
Yeah, my recommendation would be definitely, hold on to this one because there have been districts that have missed, their deadlines, even their extended deadlines, because they couldn't find an auditor. It's becoming more common.
I don't have a problem with it. Got a motion to accept engagement with the Adams Group.
I'll make a motion to accept the engagement with the Adams Group for the audit.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the engagement with the Adams Group LLC CPA for audit services. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will need a sign one from you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, did, okay.
I've got 3 of them. I got lots of stuff for him to sign.
Okay, we will now open a public hearing for the finalization of the 2025 budget. Under Resolution 6, Series 2024, a resolution to adopt the 2024 budget. And I believe we have to open that to public comment. Am I correct?
2025.
Did I say
That's
what I
correct.
said?
2024.
2025. So at this time, we will open this hearing to public comment. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes, and anybody out there like to comment on the 2025 budget besides the board.
I did want to speak to something on the budget though that I found late today that, I did update on the budget. I need you to update on your budget. Under very bottom, page 1. That amount is not accurate. I'm not sure how that got overlooked, but the end of year should be $3,077. Goes to $3,200
For the 25.
for the 25, yes. And like I said earlier, we were talking about the repairs to the sewer. those end of year estimations for 2024 of $93,000 are taking into account the potential need to possibly pump out in the hall and the rebuilding of those pumps. We still are unknown right now, but that work is still in progress, so that still is a possible cut this year.
So we haven't spent it yet.
We have not spent it yet. We may not have to spend that, but at least it's being accounted for. And as we discussed prior, during our first budget meeting, there are some items on that budget that you'll see with zeros in 2023 and budgeted and zeros in 2024 budget. Those are items that weren't previously on a budget. So if you're seeing an end of year amount for 2024, but zeros prior to that, that means it was never put on a budget and budgeted for. So we're counting for it now. And moving forward, we will be.
Did we have any public comment online? I don't see anybody here.
No, I don't have anybody putting their hands up, so.
Okay. Excellent. Board, what's our public comments here? We will close public comment at this time and discuss the board discussion for the budget.
We talked last time about the water bond and what accounts we're supposed to have, how there's, and Kim sent me the sewer bond this month, and it's got the same thing in it, you know, we're supposed to have 5 accounts that have specific names on them. So somehow we need to incorporate that into the budget. So that, and
Is that for the
I would-
reserve account?
yeah, we're supposed to have a short-lived asset account, we're supposed to have a reserve account, bond account, but they're named specifically in those bonds.
So is that listed there to show on the budget or listed there to show?
I don't know, I would think an auditor would require that your account names match what your loan documents say.
So let me, now that we've engaged with our new auditor, let me have a conversation with them about
Okay.
that and see if that's something they're doing on their end and it's reflected in the audit. Rather than it needing to be reflected in the budget.
Yeah, I don't know, I just think that we need to get that corrected and have the
Oh,
correct
yes.
amounts of money in them. So
Yes.
that we satisfy them, so that we
The requirements.
honor our loan
that we have
documents.
not.
Sure.
Yes, I absolutely
Yeah,
understand.
because it also says the amount of deposits from when we were first
Yes.
established to what we have to have today, and I think it's a little more, it's more than what we're budgeting for this year, I believe.
It is,
The
has
total-
always been more
Yeah.
than what's
So
budgeted for.
so-
And
if we get, well, if we have by the end of the year, we should be able to get there, because, but if our ending fund balance is, you know, projected at about 804,000, so we should be able to get there with those reserve
Yeah,
accounts.
yeah.
By the end of the year,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have them in compliance with the USDA.
And I don't
Agree.
think the sewer account is required quite as much, but I couldn't say for sure. I haven't got it all in front of me.
we'll take a look at that and we'll get me pointed questions so that I can address them, or maybe you just join the conversation with the auditor. So that we both are in the know.
Yeah, and we can pull them numbers up and see what those numbers actually are and have a reference to,
Right.
to
I mean,
set
it's the
those.
money that's sitting there, it's already there for the most part, but it just needs to be properly labeled.
Allocated,
Right.
right.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if we have these reserve accounts set up, we might as well have those funds
So,
in those reserve accounts, you know, labeled in those
They're
reserve
reflected.
accounts properly, you're right.
And some of the stuff like repair and maintenance, you know, we have a short-lived asset account. For
Right.
the sewer, and for the water, that's where your money comes out of to do your repair and maintenance.
Right.
But those accounts that you're showing right now, that short-lived asset and such, those are auditor created accounts that I don't touch. Those are only accounts that auditor moves money in and out of. That's why I'm wondering if that's something that's reflected already in the audit. And where you wouldn't see it on the budget.
Could be, I haven't seen
Yeah,
the 2023, I was always around with the
I'll send it
office done.
I know that Ronnie has always been very diligent at knowing what those are, accounting for those in his audit. That's why we have the conversation every year about the reserve accounts. You know,
Mhm.
So it's too bad he won't be here for the next audit, so you can see what finally have the reserve accounts listed on there now, but
You might have an interesting audit next time.
I think so, yeah.
How come our interest rate, our loan balances are going up? Why are we budgeting more for interest next year?
There's a table that will tell you how much interest and principal is going out every year, and that changes according to their schedule. So next year will be a year that schedule changes, and there will be a change in the interest going out and the principal being paid. That comes at, it's actually on the statement we get.
Okay, so the payments are not the same from year to year.
They'll go, for a few years, they'll be the same, and then they'll jump to a new payment.
Our legal was certainly way over.
Not anymore.
That might be an understatement.
Yeah.
The two biggest areas of change were the infrastructure repairs to
Right.
sewer and legal.
Yeah.
Way over.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, over 100,000 more than what we budgeted for.
Yeah.
And depending on what we spend by the end of the year, that could be adjusted, that infrastructure repairs, that number could,
Right.
will be adjusted based on what the pumps.
Actually happened.
What
Right.
their actual number is. So it could come down. So, possible, yeah. Excellent. Do we have any other questions?
Kim has worked her heart out on this budget.
Yeah.
Yes. She has spent a lot of extra time working on it.
Yes, she has.
Very good.
I bugged her a lot about it.
Excellent. Then, if we have no more discussion, I would ask that, we
Yeah, it
have,
looks a lot better.
approval of, the resolution as it's read on, under public hearing. If you could read your motion as it's written there, please. And I'm just referring to what is on the agenda. I think that's all we need is the resolution 6, series 20.
Yes, I believe
Yes.
so.
Mhm. In case it wasn't clear.
Wasn't clear to me.
Me neither. We need to point.
So you're asking for approval of the resolution number 6, series 2024 budget,
Yes,
Yeah, resolution to adopt the twenty
to
twenty-five.
adopt the 2024 budget.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 6 series for the 2025 budget for the water board.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the resolution to adopt 2025 budget. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion on the table, aye.
Aye.
Let's do that different. Let's take a roll call vote, please, for that.
Okay.
Please.
Yep.
Just so it's on record.
Director Brown?
Aye, yes.
That's fine. Director Wager,
Yes.
Secretary Duval,
Yes.
and President Gayheart.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes 4-0.
Motion passes. There you go. Thank you. Thanks, Kim. She's not here. Good work. Yep. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay, we will now exit our public hearing and move on with our correspondence discussion. And we will give Kim a second to get back in the room.
Most,
Threw it away. But that's it.
Right.
The changes in the taxes and licenses will change our expenditures,
Right.
which will change our ending numbers.
Our ending numbers.
Pretty good number.
Yeah, she's been looking like a mad dog to get it nicer looking. Evenings, weekends.
Okay,
Nick's trying to get in, can't get in. He's our special counsel to speak to your discussion item,
oh, okay,
so.
he can't get the meeting.
No, he's trying right now. I sent him the link again.
Do you want to skip to B until I can?
Skip to B and come back.
We can do that.
Okay. We'll go ahead and skip to B, potential use of previously capped well on the it's actually on the Kiowa Town property that has a 99-year lease with Kiowa Fire Protection District. So it's where it's a location, of the old water tower just south of the current fire station. There's we actually have a well that's in the Dawson Aquifer up there.
And it's capped,
It's capped, not plugged.
but it's
Not plugged,
abandoned.
it's capped, it's not abandoned, it's still it's still a permitted well, 15 acre feet a year. Yeah, it was permitted for 15 acre feet a year in the Dawson,
Which isn't much.
which isn't much, but we're looking for a backup well for the town, and I know there's been a proposal on the table to, based on the recommendations from the Department of Health and Environment, that we have a backup well in case our well goes down. 15 acre feet, I mean, if you think about how long you've been down in the last year, it would be sufficient to probably cover those outages, you know. Without spending 4 million. The well was re-drilled in, gosh, I can't remember, the well has been
It's
re-drilled
300
once, so.
something feet,
So it's only permitted in the Dawson, it's not permitted to go deeper.
right?
It was a replacement well, there was an existing well there, they drilled this as a replacement well already. So it's a final, so I don't think we can re-drill it based on what I see there, because it is a final permit on that well. So I think if you tried to re-drill it, you'd have to do a new application for a new well.
Let's do well.
I
As
don't know.
As a
that.
redundancy, the conversation, and Paul's opinion is that it would fulfill the requirement to have a redundancy, because that's all it would serve as. So you're not switching over to it and staying on it. It would, any kind of redundancy, and then we would go back to our primary well. Paul felt that 15 acre feet was sufficient for a short period of time, to fulfill that requirement to have a redundancy. Paul, you had some estimated numbers in your head of, you said it would allow us how much gallons for what period of time?
I believe it would give us an additional 5 million gallons of water per year.
Okay.
I mean, as a backup, I mean.
Yeah, that's why it saves a lot of money.
It's just not, it's not tapped into the main.
Right, so we're not sure what it's tapped into at this time, but we didn't. That be some exploration into that, because before I talked about, so it wasn't going into the contact with the chlorine. Now, Paul said there is an option where you can
Yes.
do contact, you know, put a contact tank or whatever right there at that well, because there is no electricity there either. They pulled the electricity from it, because you can see where the old pole was. But in my opinion, it would be worth looking into, even if you had to it back into the old $4 million. You know, to have a redundant well, have a backup well that you used if the pump went down. If something happened to the main water source.
I mean, if this cost drops to say to the grant and the grant, it's a wash.
And I think you could do it for well under,
Oh,
I mean, I think you could do it for under 100,000. I mean, I really think,
But we can't get that grant unless we have matching funds, right?
Correct.
but
We
can
have
you,
the grant. The grant's already there on the condition that we are going to get a loan with the CDPAP. But we're matching $1 million grant with a $5 million loan. So it's all, then our debt's gonna be $4 million. So it's only taking $1 million off of that. What I'm saying is, this is gonna be, like you said, considerably less, should this work. And if it's even $2 million to get this accomplished, you know, then it's a wash. Because we've got $1 million of loan money that we'd be requesting to get the work done, and we were matching it with another $1 million. So,
Well, and I got a response from Hickenlooper, and he's putting us in touch with his special assistant on Eastern Plains Outreach. I sent this to Kim, and there is some infrastructure money available that he sent her a link to that perhaps could help us, and he said he would help us see if we could get matching funds for that $1 million
right,
grant. So
I mean,
we could get
Or
all,
more
all
funds.
grant money.
yeah, so more funds in
Yeah.
addition to the $1 million, yes.
Yeah.
but don't you think we should look into this, for the well we have already, and just to see what it would cost to get it up and running as a redundancy well, a backup well?
And who would be able to do that, Hammaker?
Hammaker, any well servicing company. The
yeah,
Hammaker was the original well.
they were the
servicing
ones that
company
drilled
did
it and they were there, yeah.
And I think
Just
that'd be
get an
well worth,
idea,
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
yeah, cause that's, why not utilize it?
I mean, right now it's an idea. I mean, all we can do is see if it's feasible.
Yeah, if it's feasible and it saves the town $4 million.
Yeah.
I
Right,
mean, why would it not be I mean, if you were looking at, in my opinion, I'll get to you in a second. In my opinion, if the town was looking at a lot of growth, it makes sense to drill a new well.
Right.
The town right now is looking at little or none.
Yes.
So how, I can't consciously say that I'm gonna put 378 users in the town of Kiowa under another $4 million of debt.
Right.
I just,
Yeah. And something that was explained to me by that previous attorney I talked to was this 66-foot alluvial well will always be the primary well. It's not like we can drill this big high dollar well, put in this great, you know, green sand system to it if needed. It's always gonna be our secondary well, and that's the sad thing about it, you know, is we're gonna have a great brand new high dollar well, but we're only gonna use it in cases of emergency.
So we've already got one that would definitely
Yeah,
suffice. Or probably
or
would suffice.
expansion, which we're clear is not gonna happen anytime soon,
Must
so.
be in the lower Dawson,
I think it is, Lawrence.
yeah,
All over Dawson.
at that level.
Rick, you had a comment?
Does that, will the sale of bulk water, we won't do that with the well we have and the backup well?
Both wells, in the permit say that they're not allowed, you're not allowed bulk water. It basically says the same thing as our alluvial well.
It's municipal, only in the town limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City limits.
Yeah, so it's basically similar language, it's not the same language, I'll say
Yeah.
similar language.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on that one. I read the stuff on the old one.
yeah.
So basically, are we not supposed to be selling bulk water at all?
We're not selling bulk water right now at all, no. we're-
I mean, before, were we not supposed to be doing that?
No, we weren't.
Well, then
Not
that
permits.
nips it right in the bud. And maybe the problems we would have, or we've had, are not worth it. For the amount of money we're making off of it, or what, are we making very much more money
You know,
than,
we pull in about $13,000 a year in revenue,
that's
which is
nothing
this year, you know,
for the
it's
grief.
always dependent on who
Yeah.
needs it.
Yeah.
And,
what's
and,
going-
yeah, like I said, and the grief we've had with the
It
slipshod,
definitely is not sustainable with hydrants. In my opinion,
Right.
Paul's opinion.
Right.
Right, really need a.
But then again-
water Station.
maybe we don't need that grief at all,
Yeah,
and we're not
Well, we
supposedly
would-
using it anyway that way.
We would have to get more, we'd have to get the additional usage from the state and then go through the water court.
And I think that's what we're trying to
We
get an
would
answer
probably
to.
Yes.
lose it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
So I don't think,
Paul, did you have a comment?
Paul,
No, I mean, that's, yep, no, I mean, that's. Yeah, I'm sorry, which Paul?
You, Paul
Is
Polito.
it me, Paul this time, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, on this, it's, yeah, we just don't know yet. You know, we need to see whatever Fritz says about all this. We, you know, at this point,
All speculation right now.
yep.
yeah.
Um, yeah, at this point, you know, I mean, you all pretty much covered it. You know, no authorization to sell any bulk water, period, certainly not outside, town limits. I think, you know, Fritz is going to look into maybe some interesting ways to skin this cat. Part of that may be looking into what rights the authority has within the Denver basin, apparently. But yeah, the jury's still out on this one.
Excellent.
Yep. But as soon as we get, I mean, you'll probably know at the same time I do, as soon as Fritz Holloman, you know, comes to a conclusion on all this. But if I hear anything, I'll, you know, update all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, go ahead.
Well, the county's we're still sending water out of this town limits for the county building for their personal needs.
Right.
How are we handling that?
Well, I
they're
think
not.
we have to get,
They've been shut down.
oh, but
Like
for
their
the
bathrooms
building.
and stuff up at the
building.
road and bridge building.
Oh, well, there is from our last conversation in that establishing agreement. There is the ability to extend infrastructure up there just on the outskirts of town. So that
Yeah,
is,
as long as it like touches or.
as long as it touches the borders of Kiowa, it is fine.
But I think under the permit, I think Jill's right, that we need to get clarification also from the attorneys about that, because it does say under the permit that it's not to leave the town limit.
That's accurate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
That
think
is
we need to, I think as part of the clarification for bulk water is clarification on how we handle that with the attorneys. So I think you're absolutely right.
Because our permit, we can put whatever we want in an operating agreement, but if the state says you can't do this, you can't do it regardless of the operating agreement that you might make with somebody.
They're absolutely
The
accurate.
permit
Right.
trumps all.
That's exactly right.
So I think that's part of that.
Finding out what
Engagement
we
of-
can, yeah.
right.
Well, what they say.
Yeah. So it's still on the table, is my point. Okay, so it sounds like, let's see what we can do to do some research on what we can do there and what kind of costs we're looking at. I know we were talking also, Kim, about re-engaging with the company that did the assessment for the new well.
Right water.
Right water, yes, just to see what their input would be on that, on cost and that kind of thing, so. Correct,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think we need a vote, do we?
Yes, sir, just discussion.
Just don't
Yeah.
worry, Sarah, I'm not that.
Sorry. In that chair with little gold.
You're the boss.
You're
the boss.
How that works.
Mhm.
Oh, it's gold. Oh, he gets a gold one.
You got a gold one.
Oh, wow. We're just silver.
I'm special, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. We can fix that, but be sticker on it. My name on it.
I have the paper one I could still slip in.
I know, remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, Kim, are we now prepared for the item A?
We don't have Nick. I'm still trying to
Can you-
figure out what's going on with him.
We just get him on the phone.
Just to ask. I guess
It's
he's.
reformed, so can you guys hear me? I
Yeah.
think so. So Nick
Yeah,
had
we
a
can-
thing, executive session that he's in right now. And then secondly, I couldn't figure out a way to get him on. So I can merge him if he can't figure it out. But right now I recommend that you just proceed with the agenda and hopefully he can appear before you guys are finished.
Ruth, you are the last item on the agenda.
Oh, no, we have one more.
We have the project needs
Project
assessment
needs.
letter.
Well, that's about a 5-minute conversation, because all that is
Okay,
You wanna do
I'm
that
just
now?
making you aware that this is the we got back
okay.
about the project needs
Oh.
assessment. So this is, they've evaluated this submittal by Right Water Engineering. And this is their response back, and this is their list of additional information and responses they would like. With regard to various sections of that P&A. This has been sent to Right Water. Right Water is evaluating it, and I'm waiting on a response from them.
So it was less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yes, it's a very short one.
Yeah.
Also, we can discuss, I sent, or Kim forwarded an email from everybody that I got from Debbie Owen,
yeah, I
with
forwarded all that.
all of the,
Documents.
documents that she had. She doesn't have any original documents. The only document she has is what she has acquired from the recordings that she looked up. So because I had assumed some of those were original documents because they did have signatures on them, but she said the town should have all the original documents that she sent, or they're recorded. So she said anything we need, or in the future, she'll share with us whatever she has, or notes, or whatever she has. So there were some documents in there that I have not seen before. One of those documents in there was saying that the Board of Trustees would appoint the members. There was an amendment done in 2014 that the Board of Trustees would appoint members to the KWWA Water Authority. So that is a amendment to the establishing agreement. So I'm gonna get those together, and so we can clean those up and have that as a updated agreement with the amendments in it.
I noticed at the bottom of your email exchange that she stated that if she has documents, if we would like other documents, just request them from her. However, it would seem more prudent that if she knows she has documents, any documents pertaining to the water authority, that those just be turned over
Right, so
Right.
all the.
without a request.
So what Debbie told me was all the documents she had was stuff that she went and found. It's no originals that she has. All the originals were either left with the town or with the attorneys or recorded. She said she doesn't have any original documents, so all the documentation that she sent me was stuff that she has copies of. They're not original documents. That's what Debbie told me.
Mm.
So, that, like I said, what I sent you was the copies that she had that she sent me, so,
She sent us everything she has.
yes.
So those
Yeah,
few
other than
documents
she
are
has
all
some
she
notes,
has.
she has some notes and stuff, but she said all the documents that she sent me were stuff that she went and got from that were recorded.
I haven't read them all yet, but was there a document in there that allowed the water to go to the road and bridge building? Because
Yes,
there would have had to have been a building permit. The county
Yes.
issued themselves a building
That's
permit and had to
recent.
provide water.
Yes,
that's very
the town
recent,
has that, correct?
and I have
Yeah,
that, yes.
yeah, we have that, yeah.
Yes,
So-
From when
and
they
it is
built the
stated in that agreement that should there arise a need to shut off bulk water services to that building, that we would be within our right to do that, and they would just need to understand that for whatever reason that is. That is stated in that
I
agreement.
think I've seen that, but how was it ever set up in the beginning for them to get that water when it was not allowed to leave the town limits?
I can't speak to that. I was party to, I was witness to conversations between the previous president, a commissioner at the time, and the facilities manager.
And there is a resolution agreement between the water authority and the county. It's
There
a,
is or isn't?
there is,
Oh.
I saw it,
Okay.
an
That's
intergovernmental
true.
agreement between the
But
county.
again,
and
the
town.
water permit
Right,
trumps all,
right,
so it should have never been,
right, but it's there,
because when you get a building permit, you have to provide your water source to the county.
right, and that's part of why we're at with, you know. Engaging the attorneys to get an answer on that, so, but there is a document, so I've seen the document,
This
I
is
have a
true,
copy of the
yes.
document.
And you have a copy?
You don't have a
I
copy?
do. It's
thought we had-
actually filed with the clerk and recorder's office.
I have something that
I
talks
believe.
about the fact that we could terminate if we needed to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I believe.
And I think
that's
it's the
in
same
that
agreement.
Same
Yeah.
agreement.
It's the same.
Yeah. So,
So we have the right to terminate.
Yes, ma'am. By the agreement they
bulk water,
agreed to.
yes, right, okay.
It's fine.
For bulk water only.
No,
Yes.
we can't.
It
No.
was specifically
We're not
stated,
supposed to
well,
take
it's
water out of the
specific-
city
it was
limits.
specifically stated, so,
Thank you.
yeah. So. My goal is to get all that stuff cleaned up and get all those documents cleaned up so that we have them from the beginning of the establishment until today. All the resolutions that have been passed, all the amendments that have passed, have that all cleaned up, so it's in one clean, file.
Yep.
So
I have another
that would be
question.
my goal.
Was what Debbie supplied, is she saying that everything she has is like on her computer or is it Xerox copy?
Yes, I mean, everything she has copies, none of them are originals. She said she doesn't have any originals. So all of them were either she went and got them at the documents that were recorded
Yeah,
or copies that she had email or, electronically, so. And the other stuff is meeting stuff and that kind of stuff. But she said anything she has, you're welcome to come and look at. So,
why
but
didn't she just hand it to us?
Well, she said there's stuff that she put together and so she thought, they weren't originals, they weren't taken from the town, anything like that. So that's what my engagement with Debbie was.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but if anybody wants to call her, she said, you're welcome to call her, talk to her. She'll engage with anybody, whatever. So whatever she has, she'll help with, so. That's what I know about that.
Another water rate raise goes into effect in January,
it'll be reflected on the February bill.
February.
Yeah,
3%.
yes,
3%.
Do we have to do that?
You
Do we need to
guys-
do it?
If you voted it in by resolution, if you voted it in, you can vote it back out. It's up to you.
Yeah, because it won't be on this January, it'll be on the February bill to reach back into January, so. But yes, that's up to you. Right now, there's a resolution that says I will be raising it 3%.
Can you, get us a copy of that resolution? Cause doesn't that resolution not only cover this
Every year.
increase, but every
They will
year?
increase
It's, yeah,
3%.
every
So-
year,
So I think it's something we
it's
probably
an automatic
could
release.
look at in January. And
You can still
And,
change it.
Yes,
before
you can
billing.
still change it before I change the billing.
I think let's include that in January and look at that resolution and look at the numbers that we have in our new
With our new
budget.
budget, that-
Mhm.
that'd
look
be
at our-
beneficial.
Numbers going on and see what
Yeah,
that will generate for,
We just gave a pretty big
2025.
raise, they got a pretty big raise this year.
Now, know that
Yes.
that projected income on 2025 is taken into account that 3%
Right.
increase.
Right.
We did a 9%.
Yeah.
And
This year.
then, yeah, and then the idea was every year we'd go up 3%, just to try and keep up with like inflation and whatever, so. But yeah, I can provide that resolution to you.
yeah, I think that's a good thing to
I'll send
discuss
it.
again because it was kind of shoved down our throat real quickly. This year.
I was an underserved community, so.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Hits those people hard.
yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
And how many seniors we have in this community too, it's just very
Lots.
difficult, people on fixed incomes.
Right.
Just cannot afford it, and that's terrible, why you can't afford water and sewer.
Right.
Water's
Real-
already high here.
And I'll tell you real quick, Tammy, the thought process behind some of that was that loan you're gonna have to get from the USDA.
To
Or the
drill a new well,
CDBG for
right.
the new well.
And if
Maybe we
So-
won't have to, if we can find.
Right.
another grant.
Yeah,
They were gonna force you to do that anyway, because the rates that were coming in were not gonna be able to sustain that amount of debt.
That's another good reason to review the existing well and if we can make that work.
Yes,
I mean, don't pass up an asset,
Right.
it's sitting right here,
Tammy, you have a question?
I'm sorry.
Yes, so wasn't that voted in here not too long ago when Kraft was still on the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
So didn't the language in that stipulation say that anything that was voted on by him was null and void? Or am I?
No.
reading that wrong?
Anything that he was party to while he was sitting in a chair at that table, the town could not effectively reverse.
But we
That in
can,
no form or fashion said a new board could not reverse it.
Okay.
Well, I think aren't they doing a rate study, rural water, aren't they doing a rate
Part of
study
what
right
Rural
now?
Water is doing, that Scott Thomas that she's working with on the mapping thing, is an asset study and a rate study combined.
And what's the time frame on that?
It's however fast they can get it done. So
Okay.
we're still talking to him about that. You guys have already put a rate increase in place, so. A lot of our problem is trying to figure out, this mapping will be very, influential in that, because that'll help us figure out what infrastructure we have as far as assets are concerned. We're trying to find documentation of a lot of things that we just don't have. So it's gonna have to be recreated, or I don't know. Scott does this every day, so.
Yeah. Well, I think if we're gonna talk about what our increases are and what we're doing for next year, that rate study would be a
Beneficial to
very
have
beneficial
in
to
that
have
conversation.
during that discussion.
And Scott
You
said
know.
he could come speak to you guys too, if you would need him to, as it relates to those two items.
Well, I'd like to know how far along down the road we are with the rate study, just to see if we can make that work with the January meeting, to have that discussion during that meeting.
I
You
will
know,
get on the
make
horn
that
with him
one
tomorrow.
and the same.
See what we can figure out.
Cause they're comparing other towns, right? Comparably sized towns and.
I think so, yes.
I mean, that's-
I think
What a
they're
rate
looking
study
at big
is.
picture, yes, other similar sized towns, similar water structure, similar,
Right, right.
Similar
What they-
debt
What they
structure.
charge.
yeah,
I mean, I think
How do
that's
we
a big
compare to
part of
Elizabeth?
it,
Do you have
right?
any idea?
I do not.
We are much lower than.
What-
Elizabeth.
yeah.
Really?
Yes, well, I don't know about rates, but I had made the suggestion at one
There's
point
Nick.
that we increase, tap fees
Yes,
and maybe introduce a water use fee. Which is something Elizabeth does, and they didn't feel that increasing those tap fees would be beneficial to us because we're a smaller community, and I tried to make them understand that, those tap fees are not reflective on the residents that live here, they're reflective on who's trying to come in and develop.
Right. new
Right.
stuff.
We still have a partial of land all up there, all the way around that water tower that's under contract and annexed into the town and slotted for development, should that developer still decide to develop.
and our tap fees are way lower than similarly
They're
sized.
half the size.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of did a rate comparison on that, and I could send that. Cause I looked at other similar towns and their tap fees, and ours are way low. Another thing, if we're looking at that, is, we do a meter deposit. When people buy a house, they have to put a meter deposit down. Right now, that fee is 109.02. However, that does not cover the cost of the meter.
Well,
And so that is
simple adjustment.
that is something you might want to consider also, because it only happens when a house is sold, but that deposit doesn't cover the cost of the meter. And so that's the whole point of that deposit is,
that's over double that now,
yeah,
with
so,
these digital meters.
so that is something you might want to look at
I
too.
think we can include that discussion
Yeah.
also.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, because why ding everybody that is not benefiting from the new house and new development or whatever,
Right.
that makes a
Okay.
lot more sense.
I can send you that comparison I did too. So you can see what other similar towns have for tap fees.
Okay, I see, are we good with all that? I see Nick is on now, and we
Yes, he
can go
is.
back to item A. The stipulation of disconnection, do we just turn over Nick, let him?
Yeah, we'll just turn over to Nick.
Nick, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Ruth. Sorry about technical difficulties. I've never gotten that particular Zoom rejection notice before. But I'm in now. So I just want to be very clear at the outset what my role is this evening. I represent the town. As recent events have indicated, the town and KWWA do not always have the same interests aligned. I'm not an attorney for KWWA, but hopefully that relationship is getting better. But I just want that to be very clear that I'm appearing today on behalf of the town to represent what occurred with respect to the Digby disconnection, not providing KWWA with any legal advice. So with that kind of disclosure made, Kim had expressed to me that there was some concerns from KWWA regarding the transfer of water rights back to Digby. And I will provide a short synopsis of what occurred with those water rights. But I'll first state that this was vetted by 4 separate attorneys. Myself, and I specialize and an expert in municipal law. Ruth Bourne helped with the kind of the closing docs and title and chain of title pieces. And then it was reviewed by 2 water attorneys. And I am one of the few lawyers in Colorado that specializes in disconnection, de-annexation, and annexation cases. So I think we have the right pool of legal resources here, especially with the help from the water folks. But essentially, the original genesis of these water rights were made to the town through an annexation of land. And it was done pursuant to an annexation agreement, which is pretty common in Colorado, that when you annex new land into a city or town, you may have certain contractual provisions that say if the annexation blows up or if it falls apart, we are going to determine the parties' rights based on this agreement. And the individual who annexed the property, Womble, decided that he was going to give up these water rights to the town, but indicated in that annexation agreement that if the property was ever disconnected, that those water rights would return, and they would return to the then present owner of the land. So as happens, that land was sold, transferred, dispossessed from Womble, went through several different chain of title custody transfers, and then ultimately was purchased by Digby. We assessed that when Digby bought the property, he was the then present property owner, and he was entitled to the benefits of that annexation agreement, whatever they may end up being. And when the property was disconnected, he, through his attorney, moved to enforce that annexation agreement and say, under the terms of the agreement, those water rights come back to me, because essentially the annexation has fallen apart at this point. When we looked at the issue, it was originally contemplated that those water rights would be transferred from the town to KWWA. We went back and looked, we found the ordinance where that was discussed, but we realized that they were never actually transferred to KWWA. So the water rights were, for that period of time when the land was annexed, exclusively held by the town. Had they been transferred to KWWA, I can guarantee you that Mr. Digby's attorney would have been knocking on your door instead of the town's to get those back. So once we realized that there was no transfer of rights and they were held by the town, and Digby was the lawful owner of the property and the rights under the annexation agreement, all 4 attorneys were in concurrence that those water rights had to go back to Digby. And that's why we transferred them back. So that's the 10,000 foot view in 2 minutes. But if there are any questions and clarification, I'm happy to help.
I have some questions, please. I'm Laurel Brown. I'm concerned about the ownership of the water rights. There's been all kinds of transfers back and forth and water rights adjudications and everything, but I'm talking about the 4 determinations dated July 11th, 2019. The determination numbers are 3726 through 3723 BD. They cover the 117 acres and other lands. Actually, they cover the whole 542 acres of the whole town of Kiowa through other adjudications. But what I'm talking about is that when these 4 determinations were done by Matt Kosniak back in June of 2019, They were jointly taken, the applications were jointly set out and taken in the names of the town of Kiowa and the Kiowa Water and Wastewater Authority, giving both entities joint ownership, as far as I can understand. And so when these deeds and this situation came up with Digby de-annexating and being entitled to the water rights underneath that land, KWWA was not privileged to any of these discussions or what was going on with the water rights. And also, when the resolutions number 13 and 14 of 2024 were signed by the town of Kiowa, it attached a quitclaim deed for the Digby's and for Digby and for the Mayfields to those resolutions. But they were only signed by the town of Kiowa. And in my opinion of doing research and title background, my background is title, I cannot see where, like you said, in that one resolution in 2023, those water rights were supposed to have been transferred from the town of Kiowa to KWWA. They were not done that way. So at this point, and especially with these new adjudications, these numbers 3726 through 3723, which were taken in jointly in the town of Kiowa and KWWA, the deeds that were attached to those resolutions and recorded, but they were not recorded separately, they were recorded as an Exhibit A. Those deeds, I feel, are invalid because they are not signed by both the town of Kiowa and KWWA as joint owners. Technically, town of Kiowa owns 50% of the ownership of those water rights underneath the whole town of Kiowa, which includes the 117 acres that went to Digby and to the Mayfields. So that's my question about what is your theory on this. I have copies of the adjudications that were done on July 11th, 2019, that showed distinctly that the adjudications were done in both of those entities' names, so that they both own that. And so if any water rights are to be reconveyed to Digby and to the Mayfields, because they were a part of that and de-annexation too, that both those deeds have to be, they should be special warranty deeds. That's the way the DWR requests that you transfer water rights. And that also they have to be signed by both the town of Kiowa and KWWA as joint ownership. I'd like your opinion on that.
Yeah, and so I'll profess that I am not a water expert, which is why we went out and got the opinions of two water law attorneys on that. It's also one of the reasons why we executed this via quitclaim deed, is because I wasn't going to provide any liability to the town in executing these water rights. So Digby accepted quitclaim deeds. They didn't want special or general warranty deeds, or at least they didn't ask me for them. So once we executed a quitclaim deed, and for those watching, a quitclaim deed is a deed in which you're not making a representation about the adequacy or you know, the title itself, whether or not there's good title to a piece of property. You're just disclaiming an ownership and transferring it. So I don't know on the specific question that you're asking, because I'm not a water law attorney. And that's why we went out and hired two water law attorneys to make that adjudication. I look at it from a municipal perspective, which means I'm looking at it from what does the annexation agreement say, and what is the town's lawful actions in transferring those water rights to KWWA. And what I saw was an ordinance that allowed the transfer, but the transfer never took place. And I have an annexation agreement that says these have to go back. And once we obtained the third piece, which is these water rights can go back, and here's the quitclaim deed to allow it, that's when the transfer took place.
Okay, my other question though is to go clear back to the establishing agreement of KWWA, which specifically states in there that, I think it's under 106E, number 1, that all of the assets of the water facilities and assets, which would definitely be the water rights, need to be transferred into the KWWA as part of the loan agreement from USDA about not leaving any of these assets into the town of Kiowa's name. So by doing these adjudication of the water rights in 2019, where it was done by, Matt Bosniak, of, Pet Rock Fendel and Bosniak. He's the one that did the applications, and he was the representative for the town of Kiowa when those adjudications, the determinations were redone, they were amended determinations for several, like 3 different sets of determinations were rolled into one as an amended adjudication so that, or determination, so that the uses could be better defined for the town. And in those determinations, that's where it was taken in the name of Town of Kiowa and KWWA jointly. It doesn't say jointly, but it was taken in both their names. So that's what kind of turned the events of suddenly these, all the water rights are in both of these entities' names. So again, as far as title goes, that I can understand is that would determine that there's 2 entities owning it. So if the quitclaim deed that Town of Kiowa signed, if they want that, that's fine, but technically KWWA still owns 50% of the ownership of all the water rights under the Town of Kiowa. And especially the 117 acres that is being de-annexed and the water rights are being reconveyed to Digby and to the Mayfields. So are you suggesting that we need to consult with the water attorneys to determine exactly what the ownership is?
So I'm not your attorney, so I'm not gonna suggest anything. If KWWA wants to seek legal advice on whether or not it has rights or it wants to do something, that's not my place and it's not my role. It can't be my role since I represent the town.
It does look like Paul wants to say something though.
Okay, Paul?
Well, no, I mean, that's certainly something, we can address, with the water attorneys that we have hired. If that's something, you'd like to do, we can certainly talk about that offline.
And I don't think Laurel is disputing the original annexation agreement.
No.
I think what Laurel is saying is, based on the recordings of the water, I think we do need to get some clarifications, because if they were recorded under KWWA, I don't think we would have a problem recognizing the original annexation agreement. I think she just wants to clarify that if they were transferred to KWWA, that we properly transfer them to Digby as they should be, based on the original annexation agreement.
Right.
Because in the future, if they weren't, we could claim 50% ownership, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion. I'm not a water attorney either, so.
Right, and if that's done, I will say that cost will be completely burdened on the water authority,
Sure.
because the town is done paying legal fees for this matter. We've closed it in our books.
Yeah, so it's Ruth Bourne. I wanted to echo that sentiment in terms of the time and expense and extensive research the town incurred, and paying the water engineers who have calculations, which we're happy to provide. But in terms of any additional legal opinions, that is a decision of KWWA.
I agree.
I agree, and I think that's when we've engaged this new water attorney, just we agreed on that today, that it shouldn't take very much time to figure this out. I mean, you read the documents and it's very clear, their title. So, and I have copies of all this.
Paul and I can add that to our first conversation that we have.
Okay.
With Fritz.
All right.
I think that going on in the future, I think that we need to clean this up now.
Well, I will tell you, there's other things that need to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Right.
She's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And based off of what she's telling you should have happened,
Right,
there's still a lot that has not been done.
right.
So, and I keep finding that. You and I talked about this last week. I keep finding it every day.
Yeah.
So there are other things that still need to be cleaned up that have not been done all these years that should have been done.
Well, I think that we have to get an opinion, absolutely, if everybody agrees. Yeah, I think we all
I
agree.
think it's time to get everything cleaned up in the way it should have been
Agreed,
years ago.
agreed. Thank you for your time. Excuse me, Nicholas.
Yeah, no worries. Anything else before I sign off?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
joining us.
Is everybody good? Paul, you get any comments?
No.
Nothing here.
And Paul,
Oh, Laurel has a comment for Paul.
yeah, Paul, with the water trees we've engaged here, whatever you need, I have got copies of everything. I've researched all the title, all the way back from when Mom got it way back when, and now all the documents going forward and everything. I have copies of all that. I'd be glad to share them with you. And all the determinations and that show the whole chain, because that's why I've gone over this a lot, many times.
That would
Okay.
be good to have. Do you have, well, Kim, do I not have all these documents? If there are some that I don't have, you can share them in a Dropbox link.
I'll get with Laurel. Yeah, I'll get with Laurel at a later time, so we can end this meeting and start the town meeting, which is close to being
Right.
start time, and figure out what she compared to what I've already sent you.
Okay,
That would
perfect.
work.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Yep, we'll get this taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Excellent. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion been made and second to adjourn at 6:55. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 6:57.